Trading isn't the problem. You are the problem. Most people think that they will randomly stumble into profitability, and oftentimes most people end up overcomplicating things. Bottom line is, you truly don't have a plan, but it's okay, I'll give you mine. First, you need to understand that there are only two ways to fail. Either your losses are way too big, or you end up losing way too often. If this is the case where your losses are too big, this can be easily fixed just through simple risk management. So the way I use my simple risk management is I'm only risking 0.5% risk of my account size at the very max per trade. I'm always using a stop loss and I'm always using a take profit. With that comes a max of 2 trades per day for me. This makes it really difficult to have bigger losers and bigger losing days than your winning days.
A snowball effect, you know? Wait a minute, did I see what? No, wrong way! Wrong way. No. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yes! No, what the f is going on now? No! No! Whew.
Now this one is much easier to fix, but the most common way people are unprofitable is that they are losing way too often. Now, how do we actually fix that problem? In order to fix that problem, we need to have an edge. So an edge in trading refers to a consistent advantage a trader has over other market participants, leading to a higher probability of profitable trades. So to put it in very simple terms, an edge is basically if you take 1,000 trades, it's going to make money. Trading with an edge is just thinking in basic probabilities, and this visual gives you a really good idea of this. So if you have a very, very poor edge in the market, it's probably going to look something like this, where you are going to lose much more often than you are going to win. But if you have a very strong back-tested edge over years of data and live account management, then you find you might have a 50% win rate. With a high risk reward, you are very profitable with this. Or you might have closer to a 70% win rate where you are winning majority of the time. That is a consistent edge in the market, and through an edge in basic probabilities, you will be able to become a profitable trader. Now, how do we actually create an edge? Isn't developing an edge like crazy difficult? Well, not really. It's actually really easy. Things that end up being difficult are really just a series of a ton of easy steps together. The best analogy for this is running a marathon. A marathon in itself is very, very difficult, but just putting one foot in front of the other is super easy. And that's the exact same way it is with trading. Your goal should be to break your trading down into these easy questions where each question ends up being a variable. So for example, you're using a technical approach. When do you actually trade? What session do you want to trade? How many times do you want to trade? Now you have to know what type of trading you're going to actually do. Are you going to be scalping on the lower time frames? Are you going to take intraday trades, trading on the hourly, etc.? Or are you going to be taking swing trades within multiple days, weeks, and months? After that, you want to figure out your approach. Are you using a mechanical rule-based approach, or are you using a discretionary approach? Or are you using a combination of the two? Then you need to figure out what pair you're trading. Are you trading indices, Forex, GBP USD? Are you trading GBP JPY, NASDAQ, ES? Then down to your strategy. What are you doing for your lower time frame entry model? What are your confluences? What do you use for your high time frame draws on liquidity and bias? Where are your key points of interest? You need to break all of these down into very little steps and solve them each individually. Trying to do all of these at the same exact time is going to end up just not working. Once you can break your trading down into these little simple questions, each of these questions is a variable. Your goal is to use these variables to give you a positive outcome, meaning a positive risk reward, a higher win rate, and combinations of the two. How do you actually know how to answer all of these small questions? That will be through data tracking and journaling. For literally every single trade you take, you need to be collecting all of your data. The reason that you actually do this is to answer all of those small questions and see what is actually working and where. For example, on almost all of these trades and most of my bigger wins, I have 10 AM PO3 and MMXM is one of my confluences. If my win rate is higher with those confluences, I'm going to want to add that to pretty much every single trade I take. You need to be tracking your data on all of the confluences that you are looking for with entries. Also tracking what is your data versus going long and short. What is your average risk to reward? Do you have a higher or a lower risk to reward when using said confluences? And always saving a screenshot, trade time, and trade date of your entries so that you can compare and contrast when you're backtesting and actually collecting data. For example, I have many students who are very profitable with a 1-to-2 fixed risk to reward ratio, but I have others who are also profitable with a variable risk to reward ratio. It all depends on exactly how you want to work it out with your strategy and what is more profitable with your specific data. Once you've collected months of profitable data, you want to replicate exactly the things that got you there. So don't change or do a little bit more of what's actually working and just stop doing what isn't working. Now, the way data tracking and trading in general works is you are going to have your inputs, then you will cycle to your actual process where you're trading. From that, you will get your outputs or your results from that trade. You will then collect data and get feedback from that. You'll then take that feedback, review and learn it, refine and improve any errors that you might have, and then go back to the inputs, process, and basically just rinse and repeat this. This will actually help you do more of what's working and less of what's not. Doing that can actually turn you profitable, make you money, and really narrow the path for yourself to avoid a ton of silly mistakes. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I like to spell patience differently with a ton of Y's because we get paid for having patience. To show you exactly what I mean by this is going to be your skill on this axis, and this is the amount of time that you are putting in. The solid line is you just purely focusing on winning, and this line up here is you focusing on learning. If you're just focused on the dollar amount and just trying to win every single trade, then you are going to stall out and eventually fall off and start to spiral. But if you're actually just purely process focused and trying to collect profitable data and build a true strategy, it's inevitable that you are going to be wildly profitable. I honestly think this is why a ton of traders end up failing, is because they don't have the patience and they're unable to stay process focused. This isn't just in trading. This happens in a ton of different business models. People are just trying to chase the dollar amount, and when they don't see it within the first couple of months and they're not focused on the right things, they just end up quitting or failing or losing a ton. And I know it sounds kind of weird, like why, if I took longer, will I get to my goal quicker? It's a bit paradoxical, but with trading, the more patient you are with the process, the quicker you actually end up getting to that goal. Because if you take the wrong route and chase the dollar amount, you're going to run into way more pitfalls and not know how to fix them and become a completely emotional trader rather than a database trader. A lot of you go back to psychology. Oh, where does psychology come into this? I know it's like the most important thing in trading, right? So trading with a profitable edge, I use the PO3 plus sticking to that edge with rules and proper psychology equals a consistently profitable trader. But is this truly the most important thing? Well, yes, but also no. If you have a profitable edge with data to back it up, it's actually going to take away a lot of your psychological issues. So let's look at the behavior gap. This is doing and this is knowing down here. Again, you're going to have your performance and returns over here and your time over here. Basically, what you want to focus on is closing the gap here between knowing and doing. The things that are preventing you from actually doing is going to be hesitation, ego, fear, stress, greed, FOMO, not cutting losses, overtrading, stress, etc. All of these psychological issues. But the thing with this is a lot of people actually just don't know what the fuck they're doing. They may think they do, but they don't have any data to back it up. They just looked up an entry model and started trading, and they're shocked why they don't have confidence. And without confidence, you're unable to close this gap because you're making decisions based off of emotions. So to bridge the gap between knowing and doing, you need to actually have confidence in your edge. Like I said, your system solves a lot of psychological problems. If your problem is having confidence in your entry model and you're making decisions based off emotions because you're not confident, then you need to gather proof. Just think about it. If you have 100 days of completely proven and profitable data with a specific system, rule set, and entry model, why the fuck would you want to do anything else? It doesn't make any sense. So a lot of people that make these impulsive decisions don't even have the data to back it up. Once you have proof, you become a lot more confident, and then you stop doing all of these bad things. If you're lacking clarity, then you have not answered all of your questions properly. You need to define these questions and then completely answer them and build them into your strategy. If you're lacking focus, you need to go back to journaling, where you focus on input, process, output, feedback, revising, and repeating. So to sum it all up for you guys, in order to actually win, you need to avoid big losses through proper and tight, simple risk management, and then avoid too many losses with back-tested and proven data. And just realize, guys, most issues are completely fixed just by doing the fucking work. I guarantee most of you guys watching this video don't have over 3 months of proven track data, and you've probably been trading for over 8 months to a year. So what are some actionable steps you can take? First, you need to write down a simple trading plan. How do you actually want to trade? Then you need to /live test and journal over 100 trades. Now, this does sound kind of annoying, but just think about it. It really only takes me about 10 minutes to completely journal and track all of my data for one trade. If If you just repeat that every day and go and back test it, it's really not going to take you that long, even if you're putting true effort in. You need to collect that data and then you need to review that data. Once you have reviewed that data, you need to do more of what works and less of what doesn't, which is improving your plan. And basically just rinse and repeat that until you're profitable. With this, hopefully you'll get closer and closer to crossing that profitability threshold. And this is the exact process that I use. So yeah, I hope this helps with you becoming profitable this year. And remember, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Learning only happens when there is a clear change in behavior. So if you watch this video and then proceed not to do anything or make any changes, then nothing's gonna happen. You're gonna be stuck. This was just entertainment for you and you're wasting your time. So go write down a simple plan on exactly how you're going to put this in effect this year. And I promise you, I'm not special. It can really be done by anyone. For example, this is my student Jay. He became the top 100 trader at Apex Trader Funding. Or Wesker, tracking 2 full months of completely profitable data, we were able to dive in, see exactly where he was going correct, where he wasn't, and then we can do less of the wrong and more of the right. And with that, you can eventually scale up to some crazy months, pass a shitload of funding just like David, and have your first profitable months being well on your way to your first 5-figure payout. So if you're sick of this never-ending cycle in the stage that you're at and want to become truly profitable with my exact systems and one-on-one mentorship, just book an interview call below at the very first link. Remember, nothing's going to happen unless you take actions and change the course of your future. You owe it to yourself to actually start doing that. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this video and you enjoyed. I'll see you later.